ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And
Now, Bears Etc., brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Well, we're inching towards the September 8th opener at Soldier Field against the Tennessee Titans after one of the most active and talked about off-season preseasons in Bears history. The spotlight is shone brightly on the Bears, and this, their 105th season, offers unique storylines, expectations, anticipation, and hope for a postseason run. This episode, number 89 of the Bears Etc. podcast, is brought to you by Miller Lite with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Coming up, our conversation with starting center Coleman Shelton. We'll hear from Ryan Poles, his wrap-up of what has been a very busy preseason as he looks ahead to the regular season and the opener. Tom, how you feeling about everything you heard today? We'll hear a little Matt Eberflus as well. A lot of it's focused on Caleb Williams and what Shane Waldron will do with him and the offense and what they're asking of this quarterback. And many of it is the topics that we keep bringing up. First downs equals touchdowns. Get it to your weapons. Move the sticks. And then when you need to make that big play in a game, when you're called upon to use some of that heroicness that you've displayed in college, go to it. That's it.
Well, this being the 89th podcast, we are dedicating this to Mike Ditka.
We sure
so
are.
let's, make sure that the Hall of Famer, ex-head coach, world-class guy gets his due. I guess, I think I relive a lot of the time that Ryan Poles has been here, but then speed it up to Caleb Williams because he understands the process of the development of a quarterback and how there's going to be some frustration along the way. You have to have high expectations, but don't have unreal expectations. So I think it's exciting where this team is going in the direction of Ryan Poles, what he's doing. And I always kind of think back to one of the first conversations that you and Ryan Poles had, talking about stripping this down to the studs and where it's become, what's become of it, where it's at this point. And with the excitement of Caleb Williams, what we've been able to see on Hard Knocks, a little bit behind the scenes of Caleb the person, not necessarily Caleb the quarterback, because that's two different ventures in life. But like Ryan says, he's the good person for the job, and he's a good quarterback. So I'm really excited about what the future of Caleb and the Chicago Bears really is.
All right, with that being said, let's listen in to the general manager and his post-training camp practice off-season interview with the local media here at Hallis Hall on Wednesday.
I want to just say thank you to our players for the time and effort that they've put in. I thought they've done a really good job. They came in with intent to get better, improve, build chemistry. And I thought you could see that through the duration of training camp this year. I want to thank our coaches and really all of our staff. We really press hard on development. And I thought there were some really cool situations where you saw guys come in as either, a raw rookie or, someone that wasn't playing to the standard of what we needed. And then by the end of training camp, they were in the conversation of making the roster, which is always good to see. Also want to thank our performance team, and really that's the alignment with Coach Flus. Our rate of missed practices dropped significantly for the first 2 years. And obviously with availability, that allows people to improve and get better and build that chemistry that we talk about. Also want to thank our front office. You can really see every part of player acquisition, if it's the draft, undrafted free agency at the very highest level to guys just coming in for opportunity at the minimum. They were in the mix and really, again, applied pressure when it came to making the roster. And really this year, by far, from the first 3 years, was the most difficult time whittling this thing down to 53. We had some really good discussions, a lot of back and forth, constantly talking about, worrying about today, but also looking into the future because we're always looking not only just now, but also what's the roster going to look like, what are the situations, not 1, 2, 3 years from now. So had really good conversations there, which was good. I think the other thing that I really learned this year is when you're intentional bringing in the right type of people, when you invest in relationships, you invest in time and bonding and creating this group and this culture, it makes cut down day extremely hard, emotional, because you care about the guys and you want to see them be successful. But at the end of the day, there's business decisions that have to happen, and you got to get this thing down to a 53-man roster, which was difficult. But I'm really proud of where we are to kick this season off. Significant improvements, which again makes me proud of the work that we've done here as an entire organization. In terms of transactions that have happened in the last 2 hours, Carr is back on board, he's in the building, and Patrick Scales is going to be on IR until he heals up. So I'll open it to questions.
When we look at the receiver room and the way you overhauled that in the time you've been here, you got here, it was pretty bare. You had Moon, not much else. His production kind of dipped. You took a swing and miss on a trade, and now you got the room that you have now, whereas maybe 2 years ago you couldn't find 4 guys you felt really good about. Now you feel like you maybe only need 4 guys. You know what I mean? How do you go about overhauling that, and how do you feel about that process?
Yeah, I think the big thing is there's a level of patience in there. One, because when you approach it different, if it's free agency or the draft, we really try to do the best available. And I remember that first year, that was a big question. Were you going to get a receiver? Are you going to get a receiver? And we didn't have the first round pick, and we ended up with Brisker and Kyler. And really, we felt like that was the best available, and we knew that it was going to take time to really get all the pieces. And there's still space for us to improve as well. So we're just kind of in this kind of second phase of things, but really patience, letting the board kind of talk to us, and then being opportunistic, with the trade, drafting Rome. There's a lot of cool things that happen. So, and we used every different kind of way to acquire that talent, which was great.
We saw Keenan was on the bike today. Is there any concern about his health?
No. He had last week like a cleat issue, so some discomfort in his foot, but he should be fine.
Ryan, as you evaluate the season and look to measure success, is it playoffs in your mind? Is that the ultimate metric for you, or do you look at the roster development side more so and say that's kind of the priority for this year?
No, obviously that's my priorities. Let's get the roster in the best shape possible, because that's going to give us the opportunity to win games. But it's always going to be to win championships, to win the division, win Super Bowls. That's always the goal. Obviously, getting into the playoffs and winning playoff games would be outstanding. But I think the biggest thing is can we take that big jump from where we were last year to this year, and I think we're capable of doing that.
When you look at that 53-man roster from what you inherited, what are you most proud of about this group and how they've come together?
Yeah, I'm proud of the process that we've set up. It's not just about acquiring the best talent; it's about acquiring the right talent, and I think that's what you see in this building. I think it's special. Like the group of guys, it's really special. I know I've talked a lot about that, but even when you go through cut down days and you're letting guys go and they're like, man, I just want to be here. Like I can feel it. I want to be a part of this thing. So it's not like I always look at it and I'm excited about it, but when you hear from people inside the building, but also outside, it kind of makes you feel really good about the progress that you've made. But a lot of hard work, a lot of time, in developing the process so that it's sustainable.
Ryan, as you've continued both the relationship with Matt and your evaluation of him, what's left the strongest impression on you about how he's handled the last 8 months from overhauling the coaching staff to now getting this team ready to go into the regular season?
Yeah, I think his resilience for where our roster was and for how far we knew it had to go to set a standard and hold everybody to that is extremely difficult. To keep a team together through adversity is extremely difficult. But I think at the end of the day, that's going to be awesome is those things will be established. And then when the winning comes, you have a stronger product because of it. And so really, I really look at the resilience piece of it. It's so hard with pressure to stay the course. When you want to be, there's a lot of noise in terms of doing different things and changes and all that, but to hold the line it takes a special man to do that, and he's done that. And then just ability to adapt and adjust. You can see that on a daily basis. Always trying to get better, taking the feedback from players. What do we need to change? What do we need to adjust? What are you guys seeing? How are you feeling? And then making the tweaks. That relationship has been incredible. And then I probably had a third thing is it's kind of coming to me, but just investing in relationships. He's had every single person on our team over at his house to spend time there, to get to know them better. There's activities and things that he did, but that was done intentionally. That wasn't just to do it and check a box. It was to really invest in our players and build that trust because you need that.
You got a number of guys banged up on the offensive line today. We saw Bill Murray go off. How comfortable are you with the depth you have at that position?
This is the best depth I've ever had. Actually let one of the guys go on cut downs and was like, man, you did an excellent job. I wish we could keep you here. He's like, this is the deepest room I've ever been a part of. So we have more versatility, more depth. We got 10 guys, so I feel comfortable. Obviously, you want your starting five to be healthy and ready to go, but I feel more confident in the depth of our line than I ever have before.
Ryan, we've seen a lot from Caleb on the field, but in the building, what have you seen to be the effect of his personality, of his social skills, his ability to relate with others?
Yeah, it's fairly natural. It's not forced. I think that's one thing, and we've all been in teams before, but like there's people that come into those situations and they try too hard, and it's like, man, that's awkward. It's hard to buy into that. And then there's guys that just they can navigate that so naturally because they're authentic and it's real, and that's what he's done. And then on top of that, just as a professional player, like you have to perform. You got to do some things that guys are like, okay, like there's something different about you, and then pair that with a good natural, just good social skills. Some cool things happen and leadership starts to blossom, and that's what you see now.
What do you expect from him this year?
I expect him to. It's a great question. I want him to lean on the talent around him, and then when the time is right, and that's an instinctual thing, and I think that plays right into him, that's when you do the special. And balancing that. And then sometimes it's going to get out of whack one way or the other, but always come back to that. It's kind of like that neutral place where he's at his best. And I think he has that just from studying him and watching years of tape on him. He has that ability. And so I think that's kind of the big thing is just lean on the guys around him, be instinctual, let those wild plays happen at the right time. I mean, we saw it in the preseason a little bit. This can be important.
Sorry, back to the O-line.
Yeah.
How good can that unit be? You made some moves this offseason. I don't think you can point at it and say you put a ton of resources into it. Like, how good can that group be?
I think the group can be really good. In terms of investing in it, I mean, Darnell was a first-round pick. We traded for Bates, who has versatility. Paid Nate, who obviously needs to continue to work on just the dependability and consistency. Coleman Shelton's been a great addition. He's a glue guy for the up front. His ability to get everybody on the same page and execute at a high level has been really good. I think Braxton's improved, and Tevin is playing his best ball too. So I think that group has the ability to be special. And as the season goes along, and the beautiful thing is all those guys strain, and you can see that in the preseason too. Just trying to keep Caleb clean, it's important to him, and it's a really strong knit group, so it's good.
I'm pretty sure we've seen you on the field kind of mimicking Caleb's throwing motion.
You've never seen that.
I don't know what else you could have possibly been doing with that. Was it fun for you? Was it a fun training camp for you to see this guy that you had scouted for so long and drafted and then brought here and then watching it in person?
Yeah, it's fun. But I don't know. I can't ever let my mind go too far down that road. It's always about improving. But it's good to see. Anytime you draft a player because of what you saw from college, and you see some of those things transfer over to the pro game, that gets you excited. If it's the other way, it scares the crap out of you. You know, it's like, where did that guy go? And we haven't had that with really any of our draft picks. Everybody has been as advertised or if not better.
Right. As you try to grow Caleb into a quarterback who can be a game-winning quarterback with the game on the line, from your lens, what separates the best quarterbacks in this league in terms of the ones that are consistently productive in the fourth quarter?
I think it's really, I kind of say it's like their heartbeat. Like, does their heartbeat skyrocket in those pressure situations, or do you see this like calm? And we're not going to know until we're in it in terms of the pro side of it. But that's what I look for. I want the game to slow down, there to be a level of poise. And again, I'll go back to it's that same combination of taking what a defense gives you, leaning on your talent, and then when you're forced to be special, be special.
What did you experience with Patrick through that lens in terms of when you realized that he was that guy in Kansas City, in terms of what it did for the entire organization?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I know there's a lot of comparisons out there, but I don't know what Patrick's rookie year would have looked like. But I know in year 2, you saw exactly that. When the pressure went up, he was calm. And then when it was time to do something special, he was able to do it and connect. But I also think, you know, we probably don't talk about it enough. He really gave opportunities for special players to be special. And I think that's what took it over the edge.
Okay, he feels good about this football team, you know, and when asked about what his expectations are, he thinks this team, if you go through the words and really listen, he expects it to compete at a high level.
Yeah. You know, first of all, at the beginning, I like that there's some arguments inside the cut room, because when there are no arguments, Jeff, in the cut room, that means that you don't really have a lot of talent, that guys are standing on their soapbox trying to draw the attention, you know, prove the point why they belong on this football team, what they can mean to the future development of what they can mean as a veteran leader. So that was exciting for me to hear out of Ryan Poles. You know, and I'm glad Ryan talked about the big picture, because it's something you and I have been talking about for a long time. It's winning the division. It's getting to the playoffs. It's pursuing championships year in and year out. And until you have that belief within your system, within the culture of your organization, it's unaccomplishable. And so I'm excited to see where the general manager is in his first conversation when you put the 53 together along with the practice squad.
Vizzy Hard Seltzer, flavors for every vibe. Celebrate responsibly. Molson Coors Beverage Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Practice squad numbers 14. There's room for 2 more. So Austin Reed is back along with Colin Johnson, the tackle Jake Curhan, Theo Benedette, who made himself an immediate star on Hard Knocks, but with talent, a big tackle and guard. Stephen Carlson, which we both like, at tight end. Brendan Bates, he signed with the New York Jets, so he went there. Jamri Croma, a young rookie defensive end. Deshaun Mallory from Bolingbrook. Tom, tell us about him.
You know, he's a guy that's, you know, got an interesting background. He's a self-developed kid. Johnny Ivlo, a former fullback for the Bears, was his high school coach, and can't speak highly enough about him. And Johnny Ivlo now on the Joliet Catholic football staff. So when I had a chance to meet Mallory in the hallway of one of the hotels we were staying at, and I mentioned him that I've been friends with Johnny Ivlo for the last 25, 30 years, he got a big smile on his face. And Johnny Ivlo was telling me what a respectful, hardworking, good kid this is. Comes from a difficult background, but he's put himself in a position to succeed. He's a little introverted, but I'm really happy that he's on the taxi squad or the practice squad, and maybe he can develop into that guy that the Bears can play at defensive tackle.
Byron Coward, also the defensive tackle. Micah Baskerville, Carl Jones Jr. We both felt strongly about him, the UCLA free agent linebacker. And then one of my favorites, Reddy Stewart. He had a heck of a preseason, finishing it off with a couple picks and a pick 6. Tommy, he's on with Ro Torrance, who you like for his length.
Yes, I do. You know, one thing, let me just back up a little bit to Brendan Bates. One compliment that you can have about guys that you're letting go is when another team comes and gets immediately and they want them to be a part of your team. Brendan Bates proved that he belonged in the NFL, but a team came out here and said, look, if this guy is out there, we have a good scouting report and we believe he can play. But I believe Steven Carlson can play as well. So I'm excited that he's back and will be in the building. I think he's always been a good working guy inside that facility, and he'll help the position at some time in the course of his career or this year.
And veteran safeties Quindell Johnson, who was with the Bears all of last season, and Tarvarius Moore, often injured in his career, but a lot of speed. Veteran at the safety
and
position.
these are the types of guys that if they get their opportunity to get up to the active roster, the first thing they're going to have to do is be super competitive on special teams. And every one of these guys have proved they have the willingness to do that. So if they don't get snaps at the position, they're going to get plenty of snaps in the 4 phases of special teams.
So long snapper Patrick Scales goes on short-term IR. He'll need to get better, and they'll figure it out. We don't know who the long snapper will be, but it also allowed for some salary cap manipulation to get Kari Blasingame back at his original salary, so he's back on the roster at fullback.
But, Patrick Scales just has to focus on getting back. I started my last year after back surgery with the Chicago Bears on the PUP list. And after I went through the PUP list process, physically unable to perform. That's what PUP stands for. And then they have to make a decision about you within the 21 days of your return. And that's when I end up going to the Miami Dolphins. But I think when you go through the rehabilitation process, no matter who you are or what position you play, you just have to set your sights on getting as healthy and as strong as you possibly can. And when you're ready to come back to active duty, be ready to go.
Tastes like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Let's listen in to Matt Eberflus as he was asked a lot of questions about what his expectations are for number 18, Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I really think it's comes down to play design. I'm just going to micro it down to the play. So we all know what he can do in terms of his arm talent, in terms of throwing on the move and those types of things. But, in the early parts of the game and early downs, he's just asked to play point guard, have a great operation, play point guard, get the ball to our skill, either by handing it off or throwing it to them and letting them do the run and then moving around and gaining the yards. And it's going to be big that our offensive line plays well, like I've said in the past, and everybody plays well around them. That's defense and special teams included. So. And then when you get to the point in the game where it is a critical down or a third down or in the red zone or whatever that might be, then you might see X factor come out, and that's where it is. But again, he's just about the process of getting in and out of the huddle, being smooth, and operating the offense.
What have you guys done to prepare him for the challenge that is climbing the mountain during the regular season? And is there a way to fully prepare him, or do you kind of have to live it a little bit?
Yeah, the process, so we just talked about going through the in-season. So we've already done it once. We went with cards and stuff we're doing today, but we already did it one time, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're going back through it again to go through the process of it. And it's going to be a rhythm of these first 6 weeks. We're on 7-day schedules this whole time for a better part of the first part of the season. So he'll get a good rhythm to that. And really, it's just about that process going through. And we've already walked him through it a couple times in terms of what he does on Monday after the game, Tuesday when we're game planning, and then Wednesday all the way through Saturday.
Man, what did Velus do to land this spot on the 53? And how would you kind of outline his workload? I mean, is he going to be classified primarily as a running back, maybe in the receiver room as well? Like, how do you see this going forward?
Yeah, I really see him. He made it just by his efforts, and the production he had in practice. In the preseason games, and his willingness to be able to adjust and adapt and then be able to get that done in terms of his performance. I commend the coaches for doing a wonderful job in that, Chad and Jennifer and Chris and Shane and all the guys that had to work with him and to be able to help him be successful. He partnered up with those guys. So it's a really good effort by everybody. And it, again, comes down to him being able to do it and his willingness to want to and the work ethic. So he's going to be a guy for us that we can use in multiple ways. We can use him in the backfield. We can spread him out. We can do a lot of different things with him. And that's, to me, a benefit. Trying to defend that when he comes in the game is a little bit different than just a normal type of receiver or guy that can line up in the backfield. So I think it creates a little bit of a time on task practice-wise for the opponent and also preparation-wise, in the film study.
And do you anticipate Austin Booker being active? And if you do, what's your kind of general plan to use him? Will he just be a situational guy, or a true rotation, or what with an intriguing guy like that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a rookie, a defensive lineman that's a rookie. So we're still in the development phase of that, and we feel really good where he is. In terms of a pass rusher, we've seen that in the preseason. And then really working on his game to be in an every down end where he can play the run, set the edges that we ask, and do the things that we want him to do. In terms of playing run defense on first and second. So we're still going through that process. We feel really good about where our ends are. We had some additions, as you guys know, and we'll evaluate that as we go through the week.
You guys get Caleb into the week-to-week grind of being an NFL quarterback. What part of that weekly process are you most interested to see how he handles?
After the first game. So after the first game, this first game is going to be, it's a little abnormal because you got a lot of time to prepare. So it's not really a normal NFL week. But after that first game, be on a reset. Right, whatever happened, look at the performance, and then go ahead and self-reflect. Meet with me, meet with Shane. What can I improve on? What did I do well? And then be able to reset and then go to the next week. That's the biggest part that you have to do in the NFL because it happens fast. You don't have time to. You got time to reflect a little bit, but then you got to move on to the next week, going on to Tuesday, and then through that normal week, which will be the second week. So I'm excited about that.
Anything else stick out about Flus? I think he's another one who not only did he get great compliment from Poles about where he's at, what he's grown, how he's adapted, how he's been resilient. You can hear it in Matt's voice every time he goes to the podium this year.
Yeah. Other than his look, Matt hasn't really changed a lot. He's convicted about his defensive style of football. He's convicted about allowing the offensive coaches to coach the talent over there to the best of their ability. From what we've seen early out of Shane Waldron, I'm excited to see where this team is going offensively. And then Ryan talked about the importance of Matt Eberflus having the players at his house because he learns about them outside the building, away from the organization. So I think, from playing all those years in the NFL and never going to the home of a head coach, I, kind of envious of it when I see it on Hard Knocks or I hear Matt talk about it throughout the offseason.
You want me to give him a call? Maybe you can invite us over for a barbecue, you and I?
I'm surprised you haven't been there.
No, I have not.
You're as front office as anybody that walks in that building on a daily basis. But no, I just really appreciate his efforts to create camaraderie within the building, and not only the players but the front office as well.
This is a note from our esteemed statistician. I know you've got one as well on the sweat. And Darrell Taylor, our new defensive end edge rusher, their perspectives and statistically. But this was a note, and he texted me again today to make sure I saw it. And I said, Doug, it's preseason note, okay? But I'm going to tell you what it is anyway. And did you hear this already?
I did not.
The Bears outscored their opponents by a total of 68. So they had a plus 68-point differential, which was great in the preseason. Right. Since 2007, 6 teams have been 60 or better, and most of those years, all teams played 4. So of the 6 teams at 60-plus or more, all of them made the playoffs, and 2 of them won a Super Bowl. So Doug's dreaming big.
Hey, good. I like Doug to think big because that's how you create. You have big solutions and you have big effort. So if that's the case, and it means something during the regular season. But again, I look at it more from the eyes of Shane Waldron. I mean, the balanced attack that he's called in every game, the types of creative protections he has for a young quarterback, getting all the receivers involved and knowing and understanding the importance of the running game so it best complements the quarterback.
Kevin Byard is going to be okay for week 1. Keenan Allen, a little discomfort in his foot, according to Poles, as you heard in our interview last week with a cleat issue. So he had some soreness there. Okay, let's one of the guys that Shane Waldron knows, and a big reason why he's here, is Coleman Shelton, who has earned the starting job at center for the Bears, a position where he has started the last 26 games, dating back to his days with the L.A. Rams. So a left-handed snapper at the center position, Tom. Our conversation, which we had earlier Wednesday at Hallis Hall, let's roll it. Welcome back to the Bears Etc. podcast. Jeff and Tom, joined by Coleman Shelton, the starting center for the Chicago Bears to start the 2024 season. Great to meet you finally.
Yeah.
And job well done, man. Job well done.
Yeah,
you're clearly a guy who never should be counted out for any reason. Arriving in the league as an undrafted player, And you're on a heck of a start streak right now, and you continue with the Bears. Tell us how this process all went for you, this training camp, and how you arrived here.
Yeah, well, as you said, undrafted, so I kind of have that mindset going into every year that nothing's guaranteed. So I just go in and, work hard every day and just kind of be the best version of myself that I can be. I'm always competing with myself. So the main goal is to go out and be the best player that I can be.
The string of starts that you're coming in with, does that give you a rhythm, so to speak? I know it's different years and different scheme, similar scheme, but different. Does that give you like, okay, this is something now I'm getting, it's a habit forming, you're on the field for every snap?
Sure. I mean, obviously, as you said, new year, new team, but, I always want to be out there contributing for my team and my teammates, and I want to be there for them and be available. And that's a big focus of mine, is just being ready and being there. I don't want to miss any time.
Coleman, you ever study the history of a position in the team you're going to? Because when you talk about free agents, you can't. You met Jay Hilgenberg here a couple of weeks ago. We also have Olin Kreutz, a couple of guys that have Hall of Fame credentials, and Jay's a former free agent himself. So, that. I guess it doesn't have to give you incentive, but at least you understand that you can have a historic career and come from the free agent market.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, I met Jay, and he was a great part when he came into the building and talked to the offensive lineman. And Olin, obviously, being a Husky myself,
right.
Yeah, right. I know him through that connection. Don't know him personally, but obviously he's a legend, and I've been a big fan of his for a long time.
Yeah, us as well. So when you met Jay, did you look at him and say, oh, my God, this is a former center in the NFL that has the background? And, when he came aboard, it was a punt snapper, extra point field goal snapper, then worked his way up into the center position. Did you say, oh, my God, this is what I could ultimately be at the end of my career? Or were you saying, wow, this guy's not a real big guy?
Well, it's funny. I wonder if there's a statistic on it. Offensive linemen, when they're done with their career, how small they get. It seems like every year each offensive lineman, we're losing more and more weight and getting skinnier and wanting to feel better, getting the pressure off our knees and stuff like that. So
do you still have weigh-ins at this era of the NFL?
Yeah, we do. Oh, yeah.
On the daily, right? Like the measure.
Camp,
in camp
on the daily, and then in season weekly.
What do they want you to weigh?
I play around 295 to 300, keep it in that range.
Yeah. When I was with the Bears, we never had an indoor facility, so we practice outside every single day, warm weather, cold weather, no matter what. And I used to start the season at about 285, and I finished at about 295. And it was because of, you stop losing that daily weight. And so now that you finish camp, when camp is over and you get into the regular season, you're practicing the once-a-day routine. Will you gain some weight or strength, or do you kind of stay around what you are?
I always try to stay, exactly in my range. It's important for me. I struggle keeping weight on, so I always have to think, what do I have to eat and what do I have to drink to keep my weight up and stay in my range so I can have the anchor or the stability of whatever I need in the run game and the pass game.
We're brought to you by Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Coleman Shelton. I should also tell you that he and Jay Hilgenberg are best friends. They played with each other all those years. But when Tom's talking weight, he's got a great story. And I love his stories because he's got so many. But he was let go by the Bears after a 9-year career, goes down to Don Shula and the Miami Dolphins. Then you had to weigh in there, correct? Tell him how that went. Tell him what you did. I can't believe this stuff.
Coleman, it's so hot down in Miami, you kind of lose probably 20 pounds every practice. So I used to go in on weigh-in day, and I would stick 5-pound or 10-pound plates inside my girdle.
Come on.
And then wear a baggy T-shirt and stand out there.
Exactly.
So we had this guy that used to weigh us, and he goes, damn, kid, you must be thick because you don't look like you weigh that much. And it was just trying to get one over on him.
Yeah, pulling the vet move, trying to sneak in a few extra pounds where you can.
Right.
Everybody's got them. Everybody's got them, indeed. How significant is it that you were in similar systems with San Francisco for a short time, but with the Rams for all these years, and have that familiarity with Shane Waldron?
It's very significant. It definitely helped me to hit the ground running when I first got here, and to only build on what I know and being with Shane previously and kind of just the offense and the way it works.
So University of Washington, they're pumping out DBs left and right. Got some here as well, and Kyler Gordon, but also some really significant offensive linemen. So first of all, the program's amazing. Watched Roma Dunze almost every snap last year, just getting ready for our games, but that's on late at Saturday night, and I'm watching this guy, and I'm watching these teams. What about the tradition there and the coolest venue of all? I was out there last summer kayaking in Lake Washington, looking at those beautiful homes. I thought, my God, Tom, that is the best place to party for a football game in America. Just what that was like, leaving Pasadena, going there for the University of Washington, having your career, and just what that program has been about.
Sure. Well, I mean, first and foremost, I loved every bit of University of Washington. Being in the PNW, it was definitely a little shock for me going from LA to Seattle. I had adjusted that, but I mean, just the school, the history. You can look at any position really and see some greats in the NFL. And then, especially when we were coming up and we had a good 2016 season, all these old players would come back and talk to us, from Steve Atman to Lawyer Malloy, just all these greats. That it's been fantastic to be able to just hear them speak and then show the tradition of the school. And now, we have all these young guys coming out like Rome and Michael Penix, and it's just been fun to see the program continue to build and continue to grow.
Now you're a Big Ten guy.
Yeah, that's weird.
Coleman, I was drafted in '83, and I've been around the NFL for nearly 40 years, and I brag about being in every stadium built in the NFL and all that time. I've never been to the Rose Bowl. So when Jeff says you're from Pasadena, is it something that you're just so familiar with because you grew up in Pasadena? Do you pass it on the way to workout or school or whatever? And is it just second nature to you when you see the Rose Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just part of our hometown. Grew up a mile or two from it and grew up going to the Rose Parade and the Rose games. It's actually the only Pac-12 stadium I didn't get to play a game in, so that one hurt.
Yeah, right.
Do that, absolutely. But it's so historic and so beautiful, and I love going to games there.
Yeah, it's amazing. The granddaddy of them all. You hear the Rose Bowl parade and all that. I just wish historically I would like to see it at one time. But Jeff brought up Shane Waldron and your time with him. So when you came aboard with the Bears, did you know the terminology? Did you have to spend some time studying it, or were you familiar with it because your past experience with them? Because I think that's one of the most difficult things to master, no matter what position you play. So if you go out there without that thinking process hindering your blocking process, did it help you to be with them?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a few little wrinkles year to year or whatever it is, but the way I like to describe it is kind of like learning a different language, but for me, it was going from like English to Spanglish. I knew a lot. I just didn't know everything, so it was nice to be able to have that foundation of knowledge and just to kind of hit the ground running and learn the new things.
Well, there's only one guy here without a Super Bowl ring, and that is Jeff Joniak. A Super Bowl ring for our guest, Coleman Shelton, a Super Bowl ring for Tom Thayer. I just asked him because he's not a big sentimentalist. He doesn't save a lot of stuff from his career. I see the photo in the background, but where's your Super Bowl ring and where's yours? So I'll start with Tom.
Mine's in a kitchen cabinet right about 10 feet to my right. I'm not a jewelry wearer, so I rarely, I haven't had it on, Jeff, since the Bears went to the Super Bowl.
06?
In 06. Yeah. It's the last time that I had it out of the box, and I didn't even know if I wore it that week. I think I just brought it down with me for pride.
Yeah, you did. You brought it to Miami. I did see it. A lot smaller than what you guys now get, right?
Yeah, mine's hidden away. I don't think I've opened it since we got it.
Is that right?
So, maybe to show.
Did you put it on?
Of course I
yeah,
put it on.
You put it on.
But I haven't opened it much, and obviously it's in a safe spot.
Yeah. Coleman, I always say that I appreciate the Super Bowl trophy that they gave us because that's more presentable to people, whether if you own a business or you have it at your house or people get a chance to see it. And whereas, for me, I'm more of a beach bum, so I'm not wearing a ring around but there's no lack of pride in it. It's just that when people come over and see the Super Bowl trophy, it's kind of neat to have.
Right, I get that. Yeah, I'm not putting on that big ring and wearing it around either.
First of all, an offensive lineman's not doing that, right? No way.
Not too flashy.
So
is yours huge?
Yeah, it's real big.
Yeah. See, I think one thing about the Bears 85 Super Bowl ring, it's probably the most acceptable and wearable ring of all the Super Bowl rings. Because when we go to the Hall of Fame, it seems like everybody goes and looks at the busts of players they want to see, and then they go look at the display of Super Bowl rings. And I still think that the Bears is one of the ones that are socially acceptable to wear.
I have an 06 NFC Championship ring they gave to the broadcaster,
Yes,
so that's pretty cool, too. I have it in a nice little box at my house. He mentioned the Hall of Fame, and we're running out of time. We'd like to keep talking, but you got things to do. What about going through Canton did you resonate with? I mean, where'd your eyes take you? Anything in specifics that you want to see?
Yeah, well, I wanted to see the bus.
Yeah, it was the coolest in the whole, right? The way the lighting was and everything?
It was amazing. It was my first time there, and obviously, birthplace of football, Hall of Fame. I was kind of just taking it all in.
On George Halas Drive, nonetheless.
I know. It was amazing, right? And it's such a historic place, and for me, just being a huge football fan, football guy, I love everything about it. It was definitely breathtaking.
All right, so Stafford to Caleb. Experience to a rookie number one with a very, very high ceiling. He seems like he's been asking a lot of folks about advice on a lot of different things and just exploring the competitive side of whether it be an NBA great or another quarterback in the league. Has he asked you about Matthew Stafford and his approach to the game and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, Caleb's done a great job of just being open to learning and just open to everything. He's willing to learn and he wants to get better every day, and that's a goal I think for every player should have. So I think he's done a great job of just kind of taking in everything and getting better every day on the field.
So we watch Hard Knocks and we see the rookies go up there and they announce their bonus and then they sing a song. Number one, did you have to sing a song in front of your team when you were a rookie?
I did.
Did you? What was your go-to song?
I sang "Your Love" by the Outfield. Very high-pitched song. I didn't get up there in the octave, but I know all the words, so it was an easy one. I didn't want to mess up the lyrics, so I just went up there and sang, and I did all right.
Attaboy.
Surfer and puzzles, correct? These are two things you love because he's a surfer.
I haven't surfed in a while. I love the ocean. I'm more a body surf and just kind of get on the boogie board or whatever it is. But I'm a little too heavy right now. I don't have like a 14-foot board that's a foot thick, but I haven't surfed in a minute.
You got to get in stand-up paddling.
Yeah, that's
Coleman.
true.
It'll change your life, and that's what I got into after I retired. And now stand-up surfing is so forgivable to everybody, a big guy like yourself or an old guy like myself. So you can come out to Hawaii with me. I'll get you in it.
Absolutely.
So if the 2024 season were a puzzle that you had to put together for the Chicago Bears, how challenging would it be, I guess, because the league is?
Right. Well, I guess for me, the thing with the puzzles, there's always a strategy on how to do it. You gotta have your game plan, and you gotta go in ready to do it, and just kind of stick to it and be consistent, and showing day in day out. So I guess that's the best way
and patient, right? Patient, which is also a mark of a good offensive lineman,
right.
Within the framework and the instant of one play. Correct. You got to have some patience to it.
Definitely, patience is a big deal, and when the moment arises, be ready.
How tight is this football team? It's just from Hard Knocks, just watching, and he and I have been around here for a long time. So we know the difference. We feel the difference. Where you're coming from in that program with Sean McVay and his outstanding way he coaches a football team, do you get the sense there's something big brewing here?
Yeah, I mean, the team is we're really clicking and we're really getting together and bonding as a team. And that's the big thing about the NFL is just building the culture. So everybody goes in the same direction and goes for the same goal. So that's definitely there.
Tom, you got the final one, and we'll let the man go.
Okay, if you're a puzzle builder and the Bears had 4 corner pieces to start building this thing together, who's the 4 corner pieces?
Now that's good. I like that.
Well, I think I'll go more broad and say it goes from obviously like coaching staff, players, ownership, and then the front office stuff. So everything kind of goes in together, and we're all working together for the same goal.
I like it. Nice answer there. We're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. Appreciate all your time. Looking forward to talking to you throughout the season, and good luck and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys.
All right. I was impressed. I was impressed with him. I was impressed hearing that he's been a stabilizing force on that offensive line, given that was a competition with Ryan Bates before Ryan Bates suffered a shoulder injury, and maybe Shelton would have won that job outright anyway. We don't know. But this guy has 7 playoff games of experience. He started one. He entered the league with the 49ers, then with the Rams on a line that gave up the 6th fewest sacks in 23, helped pave the way for the number 3 rusher in the NFL last year, Kyron Williams. He's been in a Super Bowl as a part-time player, released by the Titans. Now he's going to face them in week 1. I mean, there's a lot to this guy. At 29 years of age, 6'3", 3'8", 299, 300, somewhere in there. 6th-year man. What were your impressions of the interview?
You know, I like that Coleman Shelton took competition as a part of the reason why he signed with the Bears. And he came here understanding that he was going to have to go out there and compete every single day. And then when his opportunity presented itself, because Ryan Bates was playing a lot of right guard, he capitalized on it. And that's the thing that I really appreciate a lot of these players is they don't run from competition. They're attracted to competition. And I think that brings out the best in you. So I'm excited to see Coleman Shelton develop a relationship with Caleb Williams, because whether or not anybody thinks it or knows it, there's a lot that happens between those two football players. And, you know, it's the snap process, the tempo of the cadence. It's understanding when the quarterback wants the ball to be snapped, even though maybe the rest of the offensive line can't hear the cadence because they're in a loud stadium. There's the correct direction of protection that you have to call. Then when you go to the line of scrimmage, you have to understand what the alternate play is called. And if it changes in the direction of the protection, you have to be able to call that out as well. So there's a lot of responsibilities that the center has to have. And you got to play good football. You think of the interior of defensive linemen nowadays in the league, it's a premium position. And when you think of the defense that Matt Eberflus plays, the premium position on that defense is a 3-technique defensive tackle, and a lot of time that's your responsibility of blocking.
We're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears, and Vizzy Hard Seltzer, flavors for every vibe. Celebrate responsibly. Molson Coors Beverage Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Okay, since the Bears shut out the Packers 26-0 in the 2006 season opener on the way to a Super Bowl, the game Devin returned a kick and Briggs had an interception for a touchdown. The Bears have gone 7-10 in season openers since then, over the last 17 years, with 5 of those losses, unfortunately, to the Packers, including one last season. I just bring it up because you have really underscored the importance of, and was asked of Eberflus today, of starting fast. Wants to start fast, really wants to start fast. He emphasized it over and over again. But you also have to finish strong, and that is true for every game that you play. Why is it, one more time, before we get into the details of the Titans next week in our podcast and Bears Weekly, is this game so important to you?
You can't finish strong if you don't start fast. And that's the key ingredient to having success throughout the entire season. The worst thing you want to do is come back to work on Wednesday after the first game of the season and try to explain what happened and why weren't you successful? Where were the emotions coming out of the locker room? Where was the excitement, the enthusiasm that we put on display all preseason? And when you talk about an opponent coming in here that doesn't come in here very often, you got to make sure that this building is yours, that 61,500 fans that are surrounding that field gain of appreciation for the effort that you're putting out there. There's so many important building blocks to that first game of the year. And listen, I know there's 17 games and I know there's all this time left, but man, you got to come out and you got to put that emotion on display of improvement that these season ticket holders and Bears fans want to see. I don't know, Jeff, when the last time I've had as many requests for tickets.
Same.
That I just said, look, I cannot do. This is the players' first game. They are going to have every ticket. So the excitement, you can feel it, and I'm excited to broadcast it on the radio come that Sunday.
100%. September 8th. Can't wait. It feels like it's been a long time, even though it did go fast. It feels like a long time now that we have this little delay before they get back to work. All right, you mentioned episode number 89 in honor of the Hall of Famer Mike Ditka, your coach for the bulk of your career. He's left a major impression on you in many ways. It's kind of framed who you are as an adult male. I got to say, your parents raised you. You grew up in Joliet. You grew up around football. But that kind of intensity and expectation of performance that you've carried through to your broadcast career seems to be put there by him and several other coaches in your life, like Dick Stanfill, for sure, but the impact of Mike Ditka on you.
You work for his approval. The first thing when I came to the Chicago Bears and I was drafted by Jim Finks, I kind of put a check mark going, okay, if Jim Finks has made all these great decisions of putting the 85 Super Bowl team together and he drafted me out of college, maybe he had an appreciation for the way I played in my college career and that I did have versatility. But then when you sit in a team meeting in these elevated stands and you're looking at Mike Ditka, who was a Hall of Fame coach, a Hall of Fame football player, one of the toughest reputations of anybody that's ever played in the National Football League, and you gain his approval on your work ethic, your daily approach, the fact that you show up to practice every day, you don't miss games, you don't ever come late for your requirements, and all of a sudden, in a subtle way, and he's never going to give you a hug or an invitation or anything like that, but you want to see his approval and your approach to football. And I do feel that I gained his approval over time, but I also had a Hall of Fame offensive line coach in Dick Stanfill. So you talk about these guys that might have played in two different eras, but they had greatness written all over them. And the only thing you wanted to do as a member of those stands sitting in front of Mike Ditka was gain their approval. And that's all I wanted to do as a football player. And, all due respect to my mom and dad and everything they meant to me. But in my professional life, it was about Mike Ditka and Dick Stanfill.
True or false? Did he or did he not elicit the phrase, "Stop being so gosh darn sensitive"?
He didn't say gosh darn. But yeah.
Because you tell me all the time, I want to know if that came from you or Ditka.
No, it came from Ditka, but I don't like to say that swear word.
No, we're not going to do that.
That's what Mike Ditka was about. And, he said a lot of other clever and creative insults to you, but you don't fold underneath the insult.
Yeah.
You kind of live up to what he's asking of you. And so I appreciated every minute I spent with that group of guys and that coaching staff.
All right, Tom, that's going to wrap us up for a very interesting and thorough Bears Etc. podcast number 89. For time, I'm Jeff. Thanks to Coleman Shelton, our guest, and thanks to you for listening. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.